Okay, in this video, we will talk about the two next elements of the ASEC tool. It means the dialogue mechanism and the community involvement. So let's start with the first one, the dialogue mechanism. In this element, we have four types of dialogue mechanisms. No dialogue, it has a value of 0. In this case, the parties involved in the conflict are not communicating anymore, which increases the risk of the conflict escalation. On the other hand, we have legalistic approach. It has a value of 1. Here, the company has a legal obligation to communicate with the community. For example, in the environmental impact assessment process, companies are required to hold public hearings to inform communities about the project, its social and environmental impacts, and the proposed mitigation and compensation measures. However, if the chosen dialogue mechanism is purely legalistic, it often lacks meaningful engagement and real collaboration between the parties. The next is the dialogue table or grievance mechanism. Here it has a value of 2. In this mechanism, the mechanism is established by the company to address community complaints and can involve a more participatory dialogue process. For example, if the company took community land without permission, so this mechanism can use, or the company can use the dialogue mechanism to negotiate compensation. Both parties should participate in the dialogue table to resolve the conflict. The only issue to address here is the land problem. This space is meant to calm tensions and heal resentments, not to discuss social projects. This social project belongs to the next mechanism, the dialogue or the development table. In this option, the development table has a value of 3. Is a mechanism aimed at fostering the development of communities. Social programs in education, health, public infrastructure, job creations are prioritized in this mechanism. Okay, let's see the relationship between the prompts inside these elements and the social conflict stages curve. So for the red line, we have no dialogue or legalistic. So the absence of dialogue and reliance solely in a legalistic mechanism are likely to trigger the social conflict escalations and lead to the withdrawal of the social license to operate. In contrast, in the blue line, mechanisms such as dialogue table or a grievance mechanism or a development table help to ease tensions, foster trust, and ultimately strengthen the company's social license to operate. Now, let's go to the next element, the community involvement in management.
Okay, let's go to the next element, community involvement in management. Here we have 4 alternatives. The company leads, no community involvement, that is assigned a value of 0. Here, in this situation, the company doesn't properly engage in community development. As a result, the company decides which social projects to invest in without consulting the community's opinion. So here the company identifies, prioritizes, and funds social projects without any community consultation. The next is community-led and community consulted that has a value of 1. So here the company manages the project after obtaining the community participation and approval. For example, the water dam that supplies water to both the company and the community. The next one is the co-management, where both the company and the community manage the project. For example, in the participatory environmental monitoring committees. Both the company and the community collect samples and compare the results to build trust in the environmental data. And the last one is the community manages the project that has a value of 3. This refers to community and authorities managing the operation of social projects such as hospital, public schools, public infrastructures. And this is the best option because the ultimate goal is for communities to manage their own development without depending on the company.
Now let's see the relationship between the options in these elements and the curve. You know, the no involvement option and the company managed development without community participations are likely to escalate social conflicts and lead to the withdrawal of the social license to operate. In contrast, the shared management and community management of their own development tend to ease tensions, build mutual trust, and ultimately strengthen the company's social license to operate.
Okay, now let's continue working in our ASEC tool for the dialogue mechanism and community involvement elements. So we are filling out our ASEC tool with the information given about the mining project in Australia. And I think we have these elements done until the global resources of stakeholders groups. So now let's go to the dialogue mechanism between the company and the stakeholders. So since the company is not considered as a part of this element, since it refers to the dialogue mechanism between the company and other stakeholders. In this sense, the focus is on whether the company communicates or fails to communicate with the local government and the community. So, local governments, no dialogue at all, so it has a value of 0, and the company and the community communications, no dialogue in this stage. It has a value of 0. What about the community involvement here? In this case, we have in the local governments, no involvement at all. The company didn't care about local government participation. Also, the community, the company didn't involve the community in this stage. So no involvement, it has a value of 0. Okay, now let's go to the conflict resolution stage. So we have filling out the ASEC tool until the stakeholders or the group, the global resources of a stakeholders group. So now let's go to the dialogue mechanism between the company and stakeholder for the conflict resolution stage. So the company shouldn't be part of these elements because it's the relationship with the company and other stakeholders. So we have the local government. In this case, the company invests in social projects in a development table with the local government. They interact in a development table with local government. It has a value of 3. Then we have the community. In this case, the company has to dialogue with the community in 2 tables. First, in the dialogue table because they need to solve the land issue. They had to solve the land issue. They had to compensate the land issue first. After that, they go to talk about development. That's why here we need to differentiate between
dialogue table and development table. Dialogue table has a value of 2 and development table has a value of 3. Now let's go to the community involvement in management. So now this is a different stage. Now the company involved the government in its decisions. The company invest in social projects. Also, the company helps the community manage social projects. So as you see here, we have in both cases the community involvement and the government involvement is a strong involvement. It has a value of 3.